We're rapidly approaching our first E3 season without E3, and I don't know about anyone else, but is it starting to feel a little around here?
Yeah, it kind of is. Over the last few weeks, I've been watching various gaming announcements with friends, from Summer Games Fest to the Sony State of Play. And all of our thoughts seem to boil down to the same kind of thing. And then Astrobot showed up and I hit everyone with the... It had me thinking not only about the gaming industry as a whole, but also about how different this summer might have gone if we still had E3. And then one thing led to another, and now I'm asking...
I mean, let's look at the facts. E3 is... No, sorry. It's hard. Was an annual event hosted by the Entertainment Software Association, otherwise known as the ESA. From its humble beginnings in the summer of '95 as a glorified investors meeting, E3 morphed into the best advertisement the gaming industry has ever seen. A place for Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and so many others in the industry to try and become the unofficial winner of E3, all hosted under one roof in Los Angeles. Except for Sony, who pulled out in 2019, and Nintendo, who left the show floor in 2013. It would be pretty easy to say that Nintendo felt the energy about to shift and looked for a way out of the conference as early as the Wii U era, but knowing this company, I think they were just being really fucking stupid and accidentally struck gold with a Nintendo Direct. They kept hosting E3 Directs all the way up to the event's demise in 2021, so it would be unfair to say the event didn't still have a strong grip on the industry and how these companies operated year by year. Sony, on the other hand, PlayStation leaves E3. That was a serious crack in the integrity of the event. And while it's easy to say, oh, they just wanted to run off and do their own thing run by their own people as an E3 adjacent event later that year, it's their comments on E3 2020 that made me raise an eyebrow. After a thorough evaluation, SIE has decided not to participate in E3 2020. We have great respect for the ESA as an organization, but we do not feel the vision of E3 2020 is the right venue for what we are focused on this year. The ESA, pressured to pivot E3 further towards general consumers, were preparing to morph it into an influencer-focused experience going into the new decade. And I don't think any company was much of a fan. Supposedly, 2020 would see the introduction of influencers booking private presentations of new games, a Disney Fast Pass style system for queues, and what GameDaily.biz calls Q-entertainment to advertise to consumers while they wait to play demos. Okay, advertising to me for a 2-hour long presentation, running trailer after trailer for new games, consoles, and accessories is fine. But if you're advertising to me in the queue, this was a step too far! And not to mention the influencer stuff, this used to be a trade show for people in suits, by the way. There were also plans to increase the amount of public passes from 15,000 to 25,000, mitigating the extra bodies on the show floor through the previously discussed methods, and potentially adding an extra industry-only day to the week of the convention. It just wasn't E3 anymore. I mean, I'm sure in a COVID-less world, the announcements would have been about the same and we all would have had an okay time, but if it was reaching the point where longtime partners and some of the biggest publishers were no longer comfortable hosting a conference at E3, clearly something was wrong with those plans. By long-term partners, I don't mean that E3 has a spouse. I'm referring to my arch nemesis, Jeff Keighley, who announced he too would be skipping E3 in favour of staring blankly at a 4K video of Hideo Kojima for an inappropriate amount of time. In reality, he was probably preparing to kill E3 with Summer Games Fest, but that's a story for another chapter. Jeff, or Geoff, has been a long-time presenter of various gaming events, including a sideshow for E3 and his own projects like the Game Awards. He too was unhappy with the direction of E3 2020 and didn't feel like he could support the event any longer. And with it being February 2020 at the time of his statement, the event was only a few short months away. It's only a matter of time before we see the ESA's plans pan out.
The COVID-19 pandemic was modern history that will surely change the lives of many people to come. And I sort of maybe blame it for killing E3.
On March 11th, 2020, just a week before the United Kingdom closed all schools and 2 days after my birthday,
I wish school was closed forever!
E3 2020 was officially cancelled, with the following event penciled in for summer 2021. You know, side point, it really is fucking crazy just how quickly people expected this pandemic to be over. My parents both remember having a conversation one day early into lockdown debating on whether it would be over by May or into June or July, and it really reflected on E3 the following year as as they got forced into going all digital for 2021.
Look, I think I said exactly this in my previous video about E3, just take a look.
All their usual publishers got together to make their own live streams, branded as E3 live streams, and streamed to their own channels and revealed their E3 games.
Basically, everyone was already comfortable hosting their own live streams to announce their own games, and everyone who wasn't comfortable doing that just got given a tutorial by E3 themselves.
Not only was every company preparing to abandon ship, but other figureheads of the industry were busy constructing arcs for them to board. Remember how I said Jeff Keighley abandoned E3 due to dissatisfaction with the plans for 2020's event? Well, coincidentally, Jeff began running his own Summer Gaming Announcements Festival that same year, tentatively titled Summer Games Fest. Holy fuck, this dude sucks at naming shit. It's a roughly 2-hour-long live-streamed event where teams and individuals alike can pay an extortionate amount of money to have their trailer air. During the entire 2-hour presentation, all I could think of was, I prefer E3. Maybe it's recency bias leaving a sour taste in my mouth because, wow, SFG 2024 was honking. But it doesn't feel like there's enough, wow, oh my god, for that in Keighley announced that? Moments at Summer Games Fest for me to consider it a full E3 successor. I've had more moments like that from Nintendo Directs and Xbox showcases than Summer Games Fest, if you can believe it. And while I do appreciate the genuine focus on indies from Jeff, and I don't want to become trapped in a feedback loop of throwing my toys out the pram when you hand me something that isn't Mario, I feel like it isn't unreasonable to expect a balance between hard-hitting existing franchises and budding new IPs that look genuinely good. And E3 being the event it was, where everyone was expected to bring out their cavalry, it kind of carried that energy. Xbox's 2017 E3 presentation, for example, Forza 7, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, the Xbox One X, a new Porsche 911, but then also gave time to games like Deep Rock Galactic, Cuphead, The Last Night. That one looked fantastic, actually. I remember seeing it live in 2017, but haven't heard anything about it since. Let me just... Oh.
This is sort of what I feel like we're missing without E3. Despite the surgence of Summer Games Fest, existing presentations like the Game Awards, and company-owned live streams, it just doesn't feel like we have a true event to unite us all over the summer. And that's what E3 brought.
And this is why, despite them shooting themselves in the foot in 2021, despite the horrible future we'd probably be living in if a physical E3 2020 had taken place, despite Sony and Nintendo's abandonment of the event, I don't think E3 deserved to die. I forgot about the 2019 data leak. Fuck my life. Okay, so picture it. You're a journalist who's gotten back from E3 2019, the first Sony-less E3, an E3 that was bloated with Google streaming services and missed deadlines. And as you get back from your trip, you find out the official E3 website has leaked all of your personal information to the public. Just about any information required to hand over to the ESA for journalist access, which is a lot by the way, has been made available for the public, just floating around on their website for God knows how long by the way. I take it back. I take it back. Just burn it all to the ground. This organization and this event is beyond redemption. When I was a lot younger, I used to info dump a lot of gaming information to my parents, mainly because no one else was listening, but hey, you're here now, you may as well subscribe. My dad and I used to talk about going to E3 one day, a big trip to Los Angeles to see the show floor, watch announcements in person, see everything the expo had to offer. Of course, now I can't be fucking bothered. I'd much rather stay at home watching the June Direct on the big screen running circles around my lounge going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, whenever Nintendo drops a big announcement. But this event was so intriguing to me when I was 11 years old, and that's why I was ultimately sad to see it die out. In 2022, E3 cancelled their physical and digital events to pour their resources into E3 2023. In 2023, E3 cancelled their physical and digital events due to a lack of interest from publishers. December 12th, 2023, Stanley Pierre-Louis officially confirms that E3 is dead and never coming back. Funnily enough though, it didn't go down without a fight. Throughout 2023, the ESA floated ideas of an E3 2024, and even taking 5 years off to return with E3 2025. But I think everyone would agree the writing has been on the wall since 2022. E3 was gone, and we're worse off because of it. There's not really a synchronized event to bring every publisher together anymore. I guess we have the month of June? Nintendo hates Summer Games Fest, Gamescom feels very hit and miss in this regard, and it's ultimately because every publisher wants to save their biggest hitters for their own showcase on their own terms. This video entered production before the 2024 Microsoft, Xbox, Activision, Blizzard, King, Rare, Bethesda, id Software showcase. But the presentation ultimately proves my point. They saved all of their big hitters for their own event, and normally your eyes would be immediately turning to Sony or Nintendo to watch for their response. In this specific year, yeah, Nintendo made an out-of-character statement and confirmed a June Direct bizarrely early, but Sony... who knows?
E3 Direct, E3 presentation, live from the E3 show floor. Having one gargantuan week for gaming news brought competition to the industry, and I think we're going to miss it. Yes, E3, in the state it was in and the state it was going to be in, deserved to die. But we, the gamers, didn't deserve to lose E3. I mean, I guess the gaming journalists who got all their data leaks probably would think differently, but I have complicated feelings about this event, okay? Fuck's sake, let me live!
Wait, does anyone else feel like this end screen low-key sucks?